Yo guys, what's going on? LoneAzn here, back at another video. And now that the North American Intercontinental Championship is done, I was going to talk about the decks, what were represented, what did well, and what surprised me. So right here we have the breakdown, the CharizardLounge.com. Looks like we have 18%, oh my god, voice meter. We have 18% Espeon Garb was represented. 18% of the field was Espeon Garb, followed by a close 17.5 rounded up for Drampa Garb, which does not surprise me at all. That roughly averages out to that it's about math's about a little over 35% of the field was some kind of Garb variant, which does not surprise me at all. Garb has proven to be a very strong and effective deck over the last now what, 2-3 months? 2 months? About 2 months since, it's actually been about 2 months since Guardians Rising came out, so Garb has proven itself to be a strong deck. After that, we had 10% of Alolan Ninetales and Decidueye variants. Not surprising at all. What does surprise me is the deck that topped, now not including one specific card that I thought would be vital to the matchups. After that, we have about 10% Drampa Garb. After that, about 6.75% of Greninja Break. And then everything else following that was Volcanion, Vikavolt, Tapu Bulu, Decidueye Vileplume, Mega Gardevoir, which that surprised me that has is even on the chart. Same thing with Mega Ray. After that, straight up Alolan Ninetales. And then after that, Decidueye, GX, other, I assume that means some kind of different kind of variants. Metagross had low representation, which doesn't really surprise me as much now that, because a lot of people were teching for it. But a lot of people who weren't a lot of people didn't tech for it because they didn't think it would not be played as much. So it kind of weird how it worked out. The top 8 decks though didn't look like they had any techs for it. But stupid pop filter, stay. Hang on, guys. I'm so professional, I know. I hope I didn't just destroy your eardrums. Oh, I'm so sorry. But yeah, Metagross kind of a weird situation here. I looked at the decks that went to top 8, and my god, I looked at the decks that made top 8. None of them specifically had tech for it, although there was one deck that did look like they kind of had a tech for it, but I didn't think it was that great of a tech. So I feel like I don't know what the rest of the field looked like. Maybe there were more techs for Metagross, but maybe because there's such a low representation of it, makes me feel like the people who didn't tech for it were better off because they didn't have to waste space on a tech for that specific deck. Followed by that, we have Darkrai deck, which I assume is like the 15 energy Turbo Dark variation that's been running around. Followed by Dratini, Giratina. Darkrai and Giratina. That deck I don't feel like should have. Yeah. Then Darkrai Dragonair, which has been kind of the new hotness. Not really the new hotness, but it's a deck that a lot of people do like. Followed by Primal Groudon, which I understand why people are playing that. But I feel like with how much Decidueye and Bulu or how strong Bulu and Decidueye are, I felt like maybe Primal Groudon was not the best call. So it looks like we have a lot of diversity in the top 32 around here. Not really diversity, but look, top 32 got Volcanion and the Orange Flight. At the end of day one, top 32 Orange Flight was Volcanion Turtonator. We had Drampa, Greninja, Darkrai, Volcanion. A lot of different stuff. Nothing looked like it was extremely dominated. It's not like Seattle where we got to the last day and it was all Espeon Garb or Drampa Garb. Although at the end of the finals, it looks like that after you got out of the top 8, looks like there's a lot of different Espeon Garb variants running around. But enough of that. Let's go ahead here and talk about the top 8 decks. Starting off with 8th place with Greninja Break. Your pretty standard Greninja Break deck list is sitting right here. Although it does have one really nice tech, which is a tech that I feel like a lot of any deck that's playing Talonflame right now should definitely consider playing. Is one copy of Talonflame Break. The reason is it gives you that fire typing against things like Decidueye and Metagross and lets you still use your Talonflame's Arrow Bolt attack for a single energy, but it bumps up to 80 since Talonflame Break itself is a fire type. We'll combine that with a Choice Band, lets you hit for 140 for a single energy, which is pretty awesome. As just a splashable tech. If you don't need it in the matchup, you just toss it. And also, it lets it survive a one shot from a Metagross. Lets it survive a Metagross. Because they can't use Choice Band, they have to use Kukui. So if they waste a Lele to grab their Kukui to knock out a Talonflame, that's kind of a good trade off for you because it makes them waste a Lele. And then not wasting a Lele to grab a Kukui to knock out a Talonflame rather than knocking out one of your Greninjas. But this is pretty standard list otherwise. I liked it. I knew Greninja, a lot of people were saying Greninja was a deck that would not do so well, but I honestly feel like Greninja had probably the strongest potential to do well because of how many decks are ability reliant. Next up we have Okay, so that was Alex K. I can't say his last name to save my life. Greninja deck, and this is Gustavo Wada. I assume that's how you say his name. I'm probably butchering that pronunciation. This is a low Ninetales variation. Nothing unusual here, except I feel like that not including a Glaceon somewhere in this list was probably I would have included a Glaceon. It protects you from Metagross, which is your pretty much an auto loss for you, but Glaceon can swing that back into your favor, kind of. Also against the Decidueye and Espeon variants, preventing your opponent from doing damage to that Glaceon to stall them out so you can start evolving and getting your Aqua Patches going. But nothing too unusual here. There's a Karen Tech for Vespiquen. And then the model is really nice because he is playing 2 Octillery, so he can model for the cards that he wants. Like, he can model for 2 Aqua Patches and then draw into them with Octillery, which I thought was a really cool idea. Taking some inspiration there definitely from the Gallade Octillery deck that's been running around. Next up here we got Ryan Sablehaas, I think that's how you say his last name, with a Volcanion Turtonator Starmie deck. If you guys don't know what this deck does, it relies on the Starmie to recycle its energy. The Starmie, you discard a card from hand, you get 2 energies back into your hand. So you steam up twice, discard energy for Starmie, get those 2 energies back and steam up again. Takes the place of a card like Energy Retrieval in the deck. So that way you can run less items. But this deck still does run a lot of items. It has, let's see here, 3 VS Seekers, 3 Ultra Balls, that's 6 right there, 2 Field Blowers, 8. Only 2 Max Elixirs, which is 10, 12 with Switch, 14 with Floatstone, and then 17 with Fighting Fairy Belts. 18 items in this deck. I feel like that's a lot of items, but a lot of these items you don't necessarily have to play. You can hold them. But you don't really rely on the items to get set up. You rely on the Brooklet Hill to set up. It's a little bit slower of a Volcanion variation, unlike the old one, which is Ranhoopa. The Brooklet Hill makes it so you don't have to run Skyfield, and you're not as susceptible to Sudowoodo. You can just Brooklet Hill for your Volcanions out of the gate, or even use that's your main way, is that you just use Brooklet Hill to once per turn grab your Volcanion EXs or your Staryu out, and then you Ultra Ball for things like your baby Volcanions and your Turtonators, as well as your Leles. Overall, pretty good deck, pretty good showing. A 6th place finish is definitely nothing to laugh at. Next up we have Zoroark Break, this is nothing different than we're used to seeing from a Zoroark Break deck, although I don't understand why there's a Turtonator. The description says 1 Rainbow Energy lets you use Nitro Tank GX's attack. Nitro Tank GX. Problem is, Nitro Tank GX only works on Fire Energy. There's no Fire Energy. There's 1 Rainbow. So I'm guessing he was just using it for the Trap Shell attack just to stall his opponents out and get himself set up, I'm guessing. I really don't know. I'm going to go back and look for streams of this guy's deck, if this guy was on stream at all, to see what this card was really for, or this is even actually the card that's supposed to be in there. Pokemon could have made a mistake, put the wrong card on here. It happens. Oricorio Tech for the Vespiquen matchup. Rangaroo is really nice in this deck because it protects you from late game ends. Plus, your Zoroark Break can use that against high energy attackers to do some massive damage. Otherwise, I don't really see anything too unusual about this deck. Pretty standard stuff here. Next up, we got Decidueye Lone Ninetales variant piloted by Mr. Igor Costa. Again, right here, I'm not really seeing anything too unusual. Espeon EX is something we've been seeing in Decidueye Ninetales variations for a while now. Really good against Metagross, Decidueye, any deck that evolves, which is a lot of them right now. So it's a really good tech card. I feel like this card could very well be splashable into most decks. So definitely a card always worth consider keeping into your deck, just to screw with your opponent. The thing that I find most interesting is that actually there's really nothing too unusual about this deck. It's pretty standard Decidueye Ninetales build. It's a really strong deck, but really Decidueye Ninetales is really reliant upon its pilot for it to do well, because you have to place your Feather Arrows correctly, as well as place your Ice Blades correctly to maximize your damage and take those easy knockouts, and then use Espeon EX as a closer to take out your opponent's evolution Pokemon, as well as using your Koko to soften your opponent's Pokemon at the start of the game. Next up, we got Sam Chen up here with his Drampa Garb variation. Nothing too unusual here. The most unusual thing I see here is the Mute Evolutions Mewtwo tech, which is really good against the Espeon Garb matchup, because for a double colorless, if their opponent has a Psychic and a double colors onto their Espeon, this lets you do 20, 40, 60, 80. Let's do 80 damage for a double colorless, and then also you hit for weakness, so it's 160. So with a Choice Band, for a Choice Band DC, you're one-shotting Espeons, which is like the hardest thing to beat with this deck, because of the confusion is just ridiculous to fight through. Again, nothing else really that stands out as unusual. Everything else seems pretty standard to me. 3 Lele's though, which is pretty standard for a Garbodor deck to run. 1 Oricorio again for the Vespiquen matchup. Tapu Koko, if you're playing double colors, I don't see why you want to play Tapu Koko in a deck. It's a pretty good card to keep into your deck. Next up, coming in second place, we got Mr. John Kettler's Decidueye Vileplume deck. He's been rocking this deck for a while now. Nothing really to report on, other than I feel like Lugia EX is kind of an unusual inclusion they'd be including right now. I feel like Lele is better in most cases, but Lugia does have the advantage of having that deep Hurricane attack, and you do play 4 stadiums in this deck. He was playing 4 stadiums, so I could see why he included it, but I feel like maybe including a third Tapu Lele might have been better, just to get those late game supporters down, like your Lysanders and your Sycamores, or your Ends. But he piloted second place. Definitely was a tough matchup for him against Mr. Tord from Norway with his Drampa Garb deck. Now, this Drampa Garb deck was really interesting because it plays no Team Magma Secret Base. He just uses Rainbow Energy to activate his Drampas, which I feel like is a smart move, because he just has to ensure he wastes his attachment for the turn to activate his Drampa. But with how slow the format was going, I feel like it was a good call. Definitely not wasting the space on the stadium was a really good choice, because lets him play more things like Float Stones and just run more cards in general that he would want to run over those cards. He does have 1 copy of Breakpoint Garbodor to stop Decidueye Ninetales, as well as Metagross and other ability-reliant decks. And then 4 Tapu Leles, which is probably the thing that's going to turn most people off from trying this deck, is that there's 4 Tapu Leles in this deck, which Tapu Lele is still a little pricey of a card. In fact, here let's take a look as to what the card is right now. Tapu Lele GX. Let's check TCG player. Looks like Tapu Lele is still sitting up around the $35 to $40 range, which is pretty fair price for it right now. Luckily, though, a lot of people are still opening sets, so the card has not gone up in value quite as fast as you expect. But overall, pretty standard item. Supporter item lineup. Nothing too unusual here, I don't think. Nope. Although Teammates is kind of interesting. But again, teammates is probably really good. If you're playing 4 Tapu Lele's, teammates does make sense because if when your opponent knocks out one of your Pokemon, you just drop a Tapu Lele and grab that teammates, and then teammates for the cards that you want, like your choice bands, maybe your field blowers, or rescue stretcher, or any of your energies. So it makes sense. But overall, I really did like this deck. I did watch the final matchup between Tor and John Kettler. It was definitely well played by Tor. John Kettler was trying to win the game, was definitely making him fight for it, but Tor definitely, I felt like, made some really key decisions that made him able to come out on top. We will be I will be trying to do as many deck profiles on these, like actual deck profile videos on these decks as over the course of this week. Some of them probably the first one I'll probably be doing is Volcane, just because I know I have all the cards for that. Followed maybe by Decidueye Ninetales and Decidueye Plume, because I do have all these cards on TCGO. The rest of the cards I might have to work my way up to it, but over the next 2 weeks we'll definitely be going over every single one of these decks, so that way you guys can see them in action and try to see if you want to play any of them. Let me know what you guys thought about the tournament down in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, guys, peace out. Video, and today we're not doing a deck profile, we're not playing any games. Pokemon American International starts tomorrow.